Hello and welcome to this tutorial where we're going to speak about dropdowns. I've taken the liberty of creating this boiler template before we start the tutorial, and it's basically just the dropdown. I've renamed here and created these two items to signify what we're going to learn here. So if I save this and go, I don't know why it's not showing here. I need to restart the server here, then go live. Of course, it's going to show our item. Okay, so I'm going to inspect so that we have a full view of the browser. No need to do that, but just how it's going to go down. So let's start with a single drop down, and to create a single drop down or a single button, let me just use this single button drop down. Drop down is as simple as just creating a button. Actually, we need to have a parent item that reads drop down. That's a div item. Probably you can use any item, but I just prefer to use a drop down. And then I mean a div item as a drop down, and then of course have the button that we've been speaking of, and that button needs to have several classes, of course. And just class, sorry, it's going to have a button class, and then the context color that you want. I'm going to use a button info, not that I like that color, but just for this tutorial. And then drop down toggle class. Okay. It's going to give it that drop down icon that you've seen there. Then after that, we need to give it some text and say numbers as an example, and then also define now what the drop down items are going to be. So we can put this in a UL item, that's an ordered list, and give it a class of a drop down menu hyphen menu. Then inside it, of course, li items, each with a class inside. So I'm going to have 3 of them, 3, and inside each li item it's going to have an anchor tag with a class of drop down item. I'm going to put a placeholder here of hash just to show it's going somewhere. Then here we are going to do 1, 2, 3. Yes, when you click on this, you're supposed to see the numbers. Let me see, drop down menu, a div, all in class of drop down toggle. Of course, we missed the part of this needs to have a data attribute. That's a data bootstrap attribute of toggle. And what is it toggling? It's toggling a drop down. That's it. We're not going to put IDs, but once that's done, click on it. It's going to show you whatever you put as the menu items, drop down menu item. So that's how to create a single button drop down. But if you want to create a split button, of course, we are going to use button groups. Going to highlight this, go to the next and say split button drop down, then create a button group. First of all, inside the button group we can create a button which says probably anything like tap here, and then with that we can, of course, a button needs to have its button classes, which is btn success. If you see, it's going to be like this, and then have another button that actually does the drop down work. So I'm just going to copy this up to here, okay, like that. Okay, if I do that, it's going to have this kind of layout. Okay, or we can say home. Then lovers, they'll have another item here, another button at the end that actually does another action. You see, so this is how button groups are going to appear. Or actually, instead of doing that, maybe let me put here. You see, that's how it's going to appear. So I'm going to delete this, but actually let me leave it here and just do BTL danger. And that's how button groups will appear as a split button with these drop down items. But it's also important for us to know that we can also create dark drop downs, and the way to actually do it, these items are light, as you can see here. If I want to turn them to dark, let me use this simple one. I can just dark button drop down, and in addition to the drop down menu class here, we can just do drop down hyphen menu hyphen dark. Save it, and once I click on it, you see it's dark as compared to these ones. So that's how you're able to put in dark buttons on dark menu items. Next, let's construct a navbar and see how that is going to accommodate a drop down menu, a drop down item. So I'm just going to paste this, clear this, and say navbar drop down. To do it, as always, of course, you're going to have a nav item with certain classes like navbar, and then another class of navbar expand. We want it to expand from the medium breakpoint, and then what do you want? It's the context class. So I'm just going to do a light background because the text can be dark. Once that nav is created, we need to have a container class inside, and inside that container class several items can be created. And the first one is the navbar brand. It's an anchor link always, linking to anywhere, and with a class of navbar brand. This home, as always. If I save it, it's going to, of course, create a navbar, but with this brand, home as always, and it's always a link because you can see the cursor and how it has done to be. After that, we can create the button that actually is going to cause the toggle, because we are going to use the Bootstrap data toggle attribute. I was trying to look for that word. So I'll create a button. Inside that button, we are going to have several attributes. And the first one is, of course, it's a type of button because of the area application, the screen radius. But we need to put in the toggle attribute of it being a collapse. I think we passed through most of this in the navbar, creating a navbar video. Then we need to put another attribute of what the target is. The target is, you can put any ID, so love item as an example. Then inside that we can put the icon. So we just put a span with the class of navbar toggler icon. If I save this, go to the browser, you can see it here at the end. So from MD is when it appears. Going down, I need to put the other class of collapse, because I've put here the data target and the BS toggle of collapse as well. So to decide what is going to happen on the collapse items, I'll have a div with a class of collapse. Sorry about that, touched my mouse pad. And then what is collapsing? Another collapse. And I also wanted to have a class of nav item, okay, because we referenced it here. So it's going to have a class of nav item, and then we start creating the actual item, which are going to be, so I'm just going to create one item, which is nav item, and it's going to be home. And actually, instead of that, I'm going to create a link, because it needs to be a link, of course, linking to anywhere with a class of nav link hyphen link nav link. If I save it, you're going to see it from MD. You see it is home. There is a problem definitely somewhere, because that icon nav bar, if I save it, now we are seeing it. Okay, then sorry about that. Navbar brand. After Navbar brand, I'm trying to find out what the problem might be. Navbar expand, of course, from the MD. I need a background which is light. Then from the container class, which wraps everything, I can have a link with Navbar brand and home. Let me just say home brand. Let me save it and see, of course, still the same issue. Then from there, I can have a button with the type of button, database toggle of collapse. I'm just passing through everything. Data bootstrap target. Okay, I missed a class of navbar toggler. So navbar, I can't type for some reason. Toggler. If I save this, voila, it disappears until you go below the medium breakpoint, which is here. Okay, so beyond that, it doesn't show this hamburger menu. So that's how it is. Okay, so the first item here, once you create the collapse, navbar collapse on the nav item, is home. Let me create that. If I save, you're going to see it. It's home. And the reason why it's showing this dot here is because I forgot to wrap this inside a UL item, and even if I wrap it that way, it's going to show that. But if you want that to disappear, class of nav, actually navbar nav, and you also want to probably, if I put navbar, you see it disappears, everything disappears, and I want to send it to the right, if you remember in the tutorial 4, so that in case I add other menu items, you keep growing this way to the left. Okay, so if I add it here, you see, and I put here contact, see it keeps growing towards the left. Now to put the drop down, which is the case in this nav item, I'll just add another item here which says other pages. Save it, you can see there. But the difference between this and the other item is, apart from nav item, I can also add a class here of dropdown. just like what we did in the other tutorial. If I click on that, it shows on other items. It's going to have a drop down. So on this anchor link, let me shift it down so that we better understand what is happening here. On this nav item, which can have a class of nav link and also drop down. Let's put it here. Drop down toggle. Drop down toggle. I want to use this class. If I save it, see, it already added the hamburger menu. Okay, so on this drop down toggle, and also we need to add a data bootstrap toggle attribute of the drop down. Keep forgetting that. And just done other pages, and a data target of drop down menu. But let's try without that first. Inside this as well, or outside this, inside this li, the same li, I can have an ordered list, and here is where I can put a class of drop down menu items, just the same way we did here. See, drop down menu here, you can put it here, then have all the UL, I mean the list items here with so they're going to be 3. Actually, instead of typing this thing out, I can just copy this. And bring it here, because we've already passed through it. If I save it and go to the browser, if I click here, you can see it shows all the other pages. If I click it, it disappears. Click on it, it shows us all the pages. If I want to make it dark, like one of the other ones where we made it dark, you see, drop down menu, drop down dark, this one, drop menu dark, I can just add that drop down menu dark. Let's see, becomes a dark drop down. So that's how you're able to add a drop down on your menu, on your navbar element. See you in the next tutorial, and bye bye.